Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly installment of Ask a Lawyer Anything. I am the lawyer, Joe Pometto of Joe Pometto Law, the best attorney and law firm in the city of Pittsburgh. Or at least the only one on YouTube that is bringing my services to the people free of charge. My name is Attorney Joe Pometto. I will give me 1 second here. I am freezing in my own house. Hello, Tom. I got some people dropping in. Give me I don't wonder if I can put something on the screen. I don't think I can. I got to turn this air conditioning down. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Okay, I am back. It was so cold in my house that I just turned the air conditioning off. I'm sure we've all been there before when it's freezing and you can just turn it off for an hour and it will stay cold. Today, I'm a little dressed down. You can see I'm wearing my United States Air Force t-shirt. Many of you may not know, but I served in the military for 4 years. Oh, geez. Oh, man. Already. Wow. Get some crazy comments there. I served in the military. I was in the Air Force for 4 years as an F-15 crew chief from the age of 19 to 23. And from 19 to 23, more like 20 to 24, because I went into basic training about 3.5 weeks before my 20th birthday. I went in, I was about to turn 20 and I joined the United States Air Force. Before that time, I was not a very good student in school. I was not the most productive human being or citizen of this great country. And then I went into the military when I was 20, United States Air Force proud. Served for 4 years. I was in Okinawa, Japan for 2 years. I was also stationed a couple of places in Florida, most notably Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. I was also stationed Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, outside San Antonio, Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas, outside of Wichita Falls, Texas, Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida, right outside Panama City, near Pensacola, also Eglin Air Force Base near Fort Walton Beach. And of course, I spent 2 years at Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, Japan. And so, I bought this t-shirt back when I was active duty. It still fits. I don't know what that says about me. But yeah, I loved serving in the Air Force, and I didn't have time to put the usual suit and tie on. So today I'm doing my show in an Air Force t-shirt. Phones are open if anybody wants to call in. 9315229. Give me a call. You will be live on the show. We can talk about any legal topic that you want. Oh man, they're coming. Here it comes. Any legal topic that you would like to talk about, and we can chat about it. Boom, 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 Bum, ba, ba, bum, bum, ba, bum. Person to correct sentence structure. I have not heard of that. And so, if anybody has a legal question, I got a lot of good calls last week. I am up for it. Please let me know. I can also just tell you a little bit more about myself while I mess around on here. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Tom, what is the least I can pay on my medical bills and not get sued? That's a good question, Tom. You know, let me do some. Let's look that up a little bit here. Sometimes I need. I believe that there are laws in place in certain states. Okay, here we go. We got a call in. Let's hope it's somebody nice with a legitimate question. Hello, this is Joe Pometto. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good. Who am I speaking?
Thanks for serving our country.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, I called in once before. I had a legal question. You gave me advice to set up an appointment to talk to them, and maybe I should get a suppression of motion. This was on failure to ID.
Oh yeah, I remember this was an incident. You were outside holding a sign of some sort, right? And
yeah,
and the cops came up and they were messing with you, and then they end up arresting you and citing you. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happened?
So anyways, yeah, well, I went to court and then I got contempt of court, and I went to jail for 2 days.
Why'd you get contempt of court?
Because well, in the paperwork, it says some things that I wasn't doing. It said that I was disrespectful to the judge, and then walking out of the courtroom, I mumbled something, and they got me out in the hallway, and then they put me in jail for 3 days. But anyways, they're giving me a great deal. They'll time served and no court cost.
Wait,
and then if I go to trial, yeah.
Go ahead.
And I got the arrest affidavit, the summary of offenses and probable cause affidavit, and none of it's true. And the surveillance video shows that, but the officer didn't have a body cam because in that small town, they don't have body cams. So, and anyways, I have it, but I don't want to read it. I don't think that would be a good thing.
You don't have to read it. That's fine. You could read it if you wanted to, but you don't have to.
Yeah, because I want to take it to trial, and then he says, because of the way I am, because I admit I'm a feisty young lady. I'm an Aries, and I'm stubborn, and like if I would have just gave him my ID, I wouldn't be going through this. I wasn't a hardened criminal, but that's not here, there, or say. It's done what's done. But I don't want to throw it under the bus. I didn't commit a crime. And in this affidavit, they're lying. I wrote it all out where they're lying and stuff. And then the public defender says, well, I don't think you should take the stand. Just knowing how I talk, how I am.
You talk pretty. 8 months going. You're talking pretty good right now.
Yeah, but I opened my mouth. I was disrespectful to the judge.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, the judge is not going to be on your side now. You know what I mean?
But I wasn't disrespectful. I just, I didn't. In the statement, in the piece of paper, she says that I was disrespectful, that I rolled my eyes. She accused me of being under the influence. I denied it. I just felt that this is 8 months going on. I didn't commit no crime. Why don't you just drop it? you know.
Let me ask you
I
this.
was
Do,
willing.
do you have a prior record? Have you ever been convicted of a crime before?
Yes, I have a misdemeanor DUI that was made into a felony.
Into a felony.
And my yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I took it to trial.
And you
They
lost?
wanted to give me yes.
Okay.
They wanted to give me 6 months probation with 6 months
Here's what
county jail time.
here's because I want to make time for enough questions. I do
All right,
appreciate your call. I'm going to give you a few more minutes. Here's what I gotta
all right.
say. I would say about that. Is, and again, everything that I'm saying here, read my disclaimer. This is legal information. You can just take this back to your public defender. Okay. But usually with people, right, if they don't have a felony or any prior offenses, I'm more likely to tell them to fight on a case in order to protect their record. Okay. You, ma'am, and you, again, I think you're very well spoken. You sound very intelligent, a nice lady. Maybe, you get a little worked up. But you already have a felony on your record. Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
this is what, likely a misdemeanor or some low level stuff. For you to take a plea on this that gives you time served and some probation, it doesn't really make sense for you to go to trial. Okay.
Not
Um,
even probation. All
they don't-
court costs.
yeah, you should just take it.
Yeah.
You should just take it and get it over with. It's not worth it to fight. Now, if you didn't have a record, I would say fight. Um, Again, I don't know enough about your case, but just think about it, right? Like if you take the deal, it's over and you walk away and you can go on with your life. If you go to trial and you possibly lose, and I can't judge the strength of your case. If I thought your case was really strong, and I don't know, what state are you in?
Florida.
I don't know. I don't know Florida law. Okay, so I really can't tell you the strength of your case, et cetera, et cetera. But if there's a chance that you could lose, okay, and they're giving you a deal to make this all go away, it might be a good idea just to take it and put it behind you, because having this stuff pending can cause a lot of stress. I mean, don't you want to put it behind you so you can move on?
Yeah, I sort of do, but then the righteous part of me says, no, I was attacked. I was assaulted. I no longer have a job because of this. My left hand was injured. I have anxiety every time I see a cop now. And how can they get away with that? That's what I'm saying. Now,
it might be worth taking to trial then. I mean, you might want to take it to trial. Can you get a jury trial? Do you know?
That's what we're going for. We're going to go pick a jury, and my son's the one that took the surveillance down off it. He showed up after the fact.
So you do have video.
Witnesses. I have surveillance. I have 2 witnesses. One is in Michigan. One's my son, and one's my boss. And in the arrest affidavit that he said that she wasn't out there at all. He lied a couple times saying I had a backpack, which I didn't, that he saw I had a backpack, and which I didn't, and the camera stayed.
Let me ask you this.
The video is going to show that he's lying.
Yeah, take a look at the video before you make your final decision. But
I did yesterday.
Would you face jail time if you lost on this case? What is your public defender?
Yeah, but what's jail? As long as I go and fight it, and say, listen, at least I tried,
I got you. Look, I then take it. I mean, if you feel that way about it, go for it, because I understand you wanna right a wrong, and this is messed up your life. So I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, not to mention they make me look out like a drug addict, that he was looking for drug activity.
As long as you get a jury, because if you had that judge, it might not go your way. But if you have a jury, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm getting a jury. I'm doing jury.
Go for it. Well, look,
I'm going to.
What was your name again? Do you want to give your name? You don't
Kimberly.
have to. Kimberly. Well, look, Kimberly, when's your trial?
Okay, I go to court on the 9th. And then I think we're going to pick, and then I think we're probably going to pick the jury on the 12th.
Well, give us a call back after so we can see what happened.
I will. And if you don't hear from me, you know where I'm at.
That's what I was going to say. If we don't hear from you, we know you're in. I don't want you to be there, okay? But listen,
I have to.
good luck. I'm going to say this too, is if you really feel like you want to get up there and testify and tell your story, then, let your attorney know that. Because sometimes
he said that he could bring it. They could bring. He told me that they'll bring up my felony.
Well,
that they wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't be able to bring out what the crime was, but they would bring up my felony.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what would that have to do with me in this case?
You can beat that, but you'll have to deal with it. Just so you know, it's something you have to deal.
That's why he was telling me.
What it does is it makes you look less credible. Right? Like, these jurors are up there. They don't know you. They hear you have a prior felony. They think, oh, here we go again. You know what I mean? Here we go again. This person's already been here. So,
exactly.
But you can possibly get past it. You just have to deal with it. If the video supports your story, you support your story. You got two witnesses who support your story. I think you got a shot. They got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But listen, Kimberly, I'm going to end it so I can answer some other questions, take some more calls. Thank you.
You put me at ease a little bit more. This is really, really bothering me. Okay. And I think you give great advice. And I don't know about that motion of suppression thing, because I mentioned that to him.
What do you say?
And he looked at me. I said, yeah, suppression of motion. I didn't know what I was really saying.
They may call it
like, oh no, I don't.
What do you say?
I don't think we're going to do that. That's what he said. And then he went on to a different subject, but I didn't even know what he was going to suppress anyways. I didn't know what you meant by that. Like
the
video?
Search.
Because listen, in this affidavit, he's saying I was calling him a Nazi.
Okay.
I wasn't calling him a Nazi at that time. In the jail cell I was. After I was arrested, I was saying stuff like, really, I was mad, and I was saying, this is not Nazi Germany.
Right.
So they got me on tape inside the jail being very upset.
I got you.
I got you. And I don't know if I testified, if they could bring up those, the jail cell video.
Yeah, they could. Maybe. Again, I don't know Florida law. So, look, your attorney probably knows better on that suppression motion. That just sounded like that would be an option. And from what you had told me originally. But again, I don't know Florida law. So if at least you brought it up. He said it's not a good option. Go for it. Beat it at the jury trial. Listen, thank you, Kimberly.
So one more question. One last question. Somebody told me that he's a public defender. He's gonna fight and try and win for the state because he works for the state. Is that true or not true?
I don't believe
he's gonna fight for me. If I don't take the stand, like he says, he doesn't suggest I take the stand. I just leave it to the witness and let me fight with it. We have enough evidence here and we have enough witness. You don't have to open your mouth. Please don't open your mouth, he says.
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, they're trying to do their job. Public defenders, look, they are employed by the county, just like the district attorney is employed by the county, just like a judge is employed by the county. Okay, they all get paid from the same, pool of tax dollars. That's true. But the public defender's office is an independent office. There's a lead attorney. Their job is to give the best representation that they can. They win trials for defendants all the time. The only issue with the public defender is sometimes they're so busy that they can't prepare for a case as well as they would want to. But I will tell you, I know a lot of public defenders who are excellent attorneys, and they have tried some of the toughest cases out there. So you should feel confident with them, just as long as he'll talk to you and keep you informed on the case and talk to you about the evidence and the strategy, then he's putting enough time in.
Okay, so yesterday was actually the first time we ever sat down in the past 8 months of this going on. But
they're
get
super
good vibes
busy
from him. He's very nice.
Yeah.
He's polite. He's happy.
They're
he
super
understands
busy.
sort of like the person.
Right.
Yeah, he sort of like understands the kind of person I am, and he says, I can't be angry about this. I can't go into this, because I'm upset about this.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
so anyway,
That's why I said, taking a deal, would make this go away. But I can understand the righteous side of you. I mean, I get that. Ultimately, it's your choice, Kim, right? It's not your lawyer's choice. It's your choice. Your lawyer can tell you, what he thinks the chances are at trial, and he can tell you his opinion of it. But if, I tell my clients, sometimes I'll tell my clients, look, what I say to them is I don't think our chances are that great, but you put me in that courtroom, I'm going to give you 100%, and I'm going to do everything I can to win, because I like to win. I don't like to lose, and that's how most attorneys are. So he is going to he's going to go in there and he's going to give you 100%. All right, Kim, I'm going to let you go.
Okay, thank you so
Call
much.
us back and keep us updated.
I will. Have a great night.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Okay, so before I take any more calls, I got an earlier question from Jaylani. I had a question. Do you think police should only go through a 6-month academy? I honestly believe law enforcement individuals should go through a couple of years instead of just a 6 to 9 month process. Here is what, and I think I can speak on that. Number one, I'm a criminal defense attorney. I also served in the military for 4 years. So I've been through basic training, and then I was trained on my job position, for several months. I think 6 to 9 months is sufficient. I do, because what you need to know to be, even if you're a soldier in the military or you're a police officer, you have to keep in mind a lot of what you are going to need to learn, you have to learn on the job. You have to learn it in practice. So putting someone through training for a year or 2 years is sort of missing the point. They're going to be a better police officer, if they went through training for 6 months and then worked on the beat for another year and a half. At that 2-year mark, they're going to be a better police officer than if they just went through straight 2 years of training. And that's the same principle in the military. So I was an F-15 jet mechanic, and I went through 7 weeks of basic training. My technical school, and my job was very technical, so I went through another. It was something like 7 to 9 months of technical training. So I did go almost through a year. But again, I didn't get really good at my job until about 2 years, 3 years in, because you got to be out there practicing, doing the work, working under someone better than you before you're going to get really good. Being an apprentice is how you get really good. So I think 6 months or 6 to 9 months is sufficient. You have to learn the basics of being a police officer, and you have to have discipline installed, and you have to have a certain understanding of the law and rules. And I think that can be accomplished in 6 months. Now, the truth about police officers and anybody in the military is they're going to continue to train throughout their entire career. So, yeah, is a cop who's been on the beat, for 1 or 2 years going to know as much as a cop who's been doing it for 5 or 10? Are they going to come off as fresh here and there? Yeah, they are. But most of the time, they're going to be supported by other officers. So in this world, I do think that, 6 to 9 months is good. The concerned citizens of Logan County, Colorado. I don't, Peaceful Patriot. I'm not sure if I saw that. And I apologize because, as you guys know, I'm a full-time practicing attorney. I was in court this morning. I have a couple other businesses going on. So I am extremely busy, and sometimes messages and emails fall through the cracks. Can I post public records I have gotten on Facebook? So what kind of public records? Here's what I would say, Peaceful Patriot, to that. And this is without really informed opinion, but it's something I'm going to look into for you. Public records on Facebook. And I know what I think I know what you're talking about is like, let's say you got certain information through the Freedom of Information Act, certain types of records, et cetera, et cetera. Can you then distribute them on a greater degree to the public? I would say you probably can, but I would be very careful about putting names in there. There may be a degree of redaction that would be necessary. Yeah, I'll take a look at your Facebook real quick. That's an interesting question. And then you can call in. Give me a second here, Peace. I'm pulling up my Facebook. Now, is this a group? Peaceful Patriots. Group of mine. Can you post? You can put a link in here. Peaceful Patriot. If you drop a link in there, I'll take a look at your Facebook page, but I'm having trouble finding it on my Facebook. Here's a good question. Nutcase 2, he asked me, is it assault for someone to milkshake someone else? This was an issue in one of my recent videos. There were some First Amendment auditors who got into some stuff. And yeah, to milkshake someone is an assault. And in Pennsylvania, as I'm sure it is similar in most states, assault. Assault is going to be a criminal. There's going to be a criminal element to it, so you can be charged criminally for an assault, and there is also a civil element to it. You can be charged civilly for an assault. Now, in Pennsylvania, the basic assault law is called a simple assault. And the simple assault covers the attempt and an actual touching. So an attempt to hurt someone through like, let's say you had a closed fist and you missed that person, you can still be charged with simple assault, even though you missed. That's an attempt crime. Then you have, and I believe those are called inchoate crimes, INCHOATE. Okay. An inchoate, just begin and not fully formed or developed. So it's a certain type of crime where it's an attempt, just like attempted homicide is a crime. You can be convicted and sentenced to many years in prison over an attempted homicide. If you shot at someone's head and you missed them or you grazed them and it didn't kill them, that's attempted homicide. Just like a punch is an attempted assault. Pennsylvania, that's simple assault. Be the same as an assault where you have an impact, which would also be charged as a simple assault. That statute covers the attempt and the actual touching. A milkshake, even though it could hurt, it might hurt someone, it probably wouldn't leave permanent damage. It would be, under Pennsylvania law, a simple assault. You can be charged, prosecuted, and face jail time over it. Now, it would also be a civil infraction, which is in Pennsylvania, I remember this from torts class. A battery in Pennsylvania is any harmful or offensive touching. Throwing a milkshake at someone, spitting on them, splashing a bucket of water on them is a battery for civil purposes. Now, you could sue that person. You would win liability. You may not win a lot of money on damages, but you would win liability. Yes, these people out here milkshaking politicians, and it's, I know it's happening in the UK a lot. They're breaking the law. I imagine the UK law is similar to ours. They're breaking the law. They should be charged and prosecuted. Now, I'm a criminal defense attorney, so I would have a lot of creative arguments to help my clients get out of that situation. But I understand the law on both sides of it. Yes, it's a crime. And yeah, you make a good point there. Antifa's been using cement and shakes. So that's the problem. That's why the law has to take something like that seriously, even if it's just water or milk. Well, if the police and the law allows people to just throw liquids on someone, one day it's water, one day it's milk, the next day it's acid, the next day it's cement, the next day it's anthrax. So it's illegal. It's illegal, and the law, law enforcement and the prosecutorial attorneys in that county or state where it's happening, they should be very concerned about that. Yes, I am an Air Force veteran. Lawrence Barker, spit at you and miss. This is I spit at you and hit. It's an assault and battery. Essentially, yeah. Again, like I said, in Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania, it's just a simple assault for criminal purposes. But yeah, assault and battery is actually two separate torts in Pennsylvania. I'm going to ask you guys. I have someone who wants to put a message in. I would just say, like, let's refrain from using swear words. I mean, I know I swear a little bit, but let's refrain from it in the chat as much as we can. And that's the same principle. I don't want to get real crazy insults, attacks, this and that in the chat. Peaceful Patriot, I'm still looking. I can't find your page, man. I cannot find your page. But look, Freedom of Information Act in most states have laws, and many cities and towns and counties have Freedom of Information Act ordinances. They have to turn certain information over to the public. I imagine that, and the news does it all the time. The news, these are their journalists in arms of news companies. All they do is Freedom of Information Acts, and they get that stuff and they read it, and then they put it on the news if there's something newsworthy in it. So I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm not sure. I haven't researched this, but if you got something through a Freedom of Information Act, you could likely post it on Facebook because it's a public record or a public document. But I'd be very careful. Again, I'd be careful about putting people's names in there, etc. But you can likely put it in there. Yeah, I think aggravated is if you don't know the person you assault. Well, actually, aggravated in Pennsylvania depends on the seriousness of the injury or the act itself. So again, like a punch and a miss, but it would be likely be a simple assault. But if you had a knife and you could cause serious bodily injury and you swung it at someone and you missed, that would be an aggravated assault. Or if you stabbed someone and you didn't kill them, okay, that would be an aggravated assault. The difference in Pennsylvania, at least, is the potential for serious injury or the causing of serious bodily injury. We call it SBI. It's called serious bodily injury in the law. So again, a knife or a gun is going to be an aggravated assault, even if it doesn't kill someone. Now, I've seen some interesting cases where a single punch has resulted in the person being charged with an aggravated assault because the person who got punched suffered a seizure or a serious concussion or even brain damage. So that could make it an aggravated assault. I've filed complaints and called attorneys. Taylor, you can call in if you want. If you have a legal issue and you want to talk about it, I'm going to pop my number in. Beat him to a pulp, that would be aggravated. Right, Jim the trucker, you're correct. At a certain degree, it could be attempted homicide. I'm actually not 100% sure if Pennsylvania attempted manslaughter. I'm actually not sure about that. But yeah, you get the idea. That's the interesting thing about the intention of an individual is juries actually have to read into the intent of a person from their actions. And juries also have to read into, jury or judge, in, say, an assault type trial is going to have to decide if, a knife that went by someone's head was an aggravated assault or a simple assault. Like sometimes the district attorneys will charge like a punch, and I would say, well, that's a simple assault. You're trying to charge that as an aggravated assault? Like, what's going on here? And so there's a lot of arguments we can make as defense attorneys when it comes to that. Lisa Toss, how does the state prove intent? Well, that's how juries and judges, when they're in the role of fact finder, they are allowed to make inferences and deductions from the information that is presented to them. So it's like circumstantial evidence, for instance, right? Like, let's say that, you walk into a house and you find a dead body, and it's Joan, but nobody saw the crime actually happened. Okay. But Jim was the only person who was in the house the 6 hours before the crime occurred. And they have a witness who saw them walk in and saw them walk out. Oh, I'll get back to someone. Take a call. Hi, this is Attorney Joe Pometto, Joe Pometto Law Show. Do you have a question?
Yes. Hi, this is Peaceful Patriot.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good, good. I was looking for your Facebook page.
I don't know how to put a link to it. I have no idea. I'm not tech savvy.
That's fine. That's fine. Well, what's your question?
I would like to post public records regarding this because the newspaper here locally in town, and it's all on the Facebook page. I've posted all the articles. There's 2 total. But they had first put in an article out about the intent to sue, and the next day the journalist put that it was all unfounded, and that's not true. But he's good friends with the sheriff. I mean, that's how these small towns work. You get cliquish people and...
Okay, so what happened? Like, I need to know. So did you post public records on your Facebook?
No, I have not posted any public records.
Okay, well then give me the factual scenario so that I can try to give you an analysis.
Okay, this sheriff, since the election, he was re-elected, shockingly.
Okay.
But since the re-election, he has been intimidating and threatening his deputies.
Okay.
Because they did not vote for him.
Okay.
And that deals with the Brady Law. And now deputies are starting to come forward, and we wound up having to go to the county attorney in order to get these records, because first we went to the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
They had it right there, they told me, and I had to fill out a written request. I did so. Then she called me back the next day and said, well, no, it's not a lawsuit. It's an intent to sue. And she said, you need to get them from the sheriff's department. So I had to go there, and then they told me that they didn't have it.
Well, let me stop you real quick. What were the records that you were trying to obtain?
It's from a deputy, a former deputy now, that worked there, regarding how he was forced to resign.
Okay. Okay.
Because of the Brady Law. I mean, he's threatening their jobs. This is still going on.
Okay. So do you want to, what state are you in? You don't have to tell if you don't want to.
I mean, that's...
Okay.
I'm in Colorado.
Okay. So every state, so first of all, I don't know the Brady Law. I do know there actually is a Supreme Court decision that's titled Brady. It has to do with prosecutors turning evidence over in a criminal case. I don't think that's what you're referring to, so I'm not familiar with the Brady law that you're talking about. Now, the information that you are trying to obtain, I don't know if that is public information or if it would be considered confidential or classified.
Right. I do have it. The
Okay.
county attorney gave it to us, but then it forced his hand. They had been served a month prior.
With a lawsuit?
And it's an intent to sue paper.
Who filed the intent to sue? One of the sheriff's deputies?
Yes.
Okay.
One who is now a former deputy.
Well,
and actually, I'll tell you, my husband was the one that ran against him.
Okay. Well,
and lost. And my husband is the one that's received call after call after call from deputies that have been ousted, basically, because they voted for him.
Okay. So one of these deputies filed an intent to sue, but has not officially filed a complaint yet.
I don't know how that process works.
I have a feeling I do, because we call it something a little different in Pennsylvania, but it's probably similar. So it sounds to me he filed an intent to sue, and what that is basically a document that will allow him to file the lawsuit at a later time. And what it also does is it protects his statute of limitations. So as I'm sure you're aware, you only have a certain period of time to file a lawsuit. So when the incident happens, and I don't know Colorado law, okay? So, but when an incident happens, you may have 6 months, you may have 2 years, you may have 5 years, depending on the nature of the case. All right. So what this individual's attorney has done is filed an intent to sue, which has preserved his statute of limitations claim. What that means now is that he can sort of sit on the lawsuit if he wants to, and they can try to settle it, or he can wait a long time and maybe bring it further in the future. Now, the defendant, which in this case sounds like the sheriff's office, can force his hand at a certain point, but they may not want to do that. It's all strategy. Regardless, the intent to sue is not going to include, all that likely says, and tell me if I'm wrong here, is the parties who are involved. Is that about it?
Yes, and he's going after also the undersheriff and the upper administration. It's kind of all one big group of people. Right.
So are you looking for more information? Is that what you're looking for, or you're wondering if you can put that document up on like social media or something?
I want to put that document up on social media. I just want to make sure that I am not going to get in trouble legally.
Right. Did you talk to the lawyer about it?
No. I don't know the lawyer or anything. I am sitting here as an alternative sort of journalist, if you will.
I gotcha.
Because our newspaper here is telling nothing but lies about this. It's incredible. Once you read the intent to sue paperwork, and he says it's all unfounded, he went and got the same paperwork after the sheriff's department had to release a statement. And then the very next day, he said they were rumors and unfounded, and I've called him out on it on my Facebook page. I've called them all out on it. It's wrong. It's one thing. He won the election, but yet he's going after his deputies, his own thin blue line, to discredit and ruin their careers simply because they used the right to vote, and it's wrong.
I agree. It's retaliation. It's retaliatory.
Right, exactly. It's totally retaliation, and they have a lot of evidence. A lot of it's a cease and desist or whatever it's called. I'm new at this, so I'm just trying to get help for the ones who he's trying to ruin their careers. That's wrong.
Right.
Because not all cops are bad cops.
Absolutely.
There are good cops out there. And the thing is he's giving the good cops a bad name. And he needs to be out of office. He needs to be recalled. And that's what I want to do. And a lot of the citizens feel the same way. I mean, he only won by 240 votes.
Wow. Yeah.
It was very close.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not about the election. It has nothing to do with the election. And this is what I'm doing on my own because I believe justice, I mean, he's not above the law. And he shouldn't act that way.
Here's, and I agree with you. Here's what I would say is, and you know, if you leave the comments, go around your community, get a petition signed from your community, and take it to your mayor. And you know, the mayor may have some weight here. So that's not necessarily a bad idea. That's probably a good idea. Now, he said get a petition signed from the community residents complaining about this.
Okay.
Here's what I'll tell you about the specific legal question that you had. Once a document has been filed in a court of law, unless a judge or some other organization files it as a sealed or a redacted or a confidential document, generally if a document like a complaint or this notice to sue that you're talking about, and again, I'm not a Colorado attorney, I don't know what a notice to sue is, so this is just general information. Okay, you want to talk to intent to sue. Okay, you want to talk to a Colorado attorney to get a real understanding of this. But usually anything filed with the courts is a public document. So if you went, I would say, and I'm not sure about this, but if you put it on Facebook, you are likely completely within your rights. And what I mean by that is you because the news does it all the time. Journalists do it all the time. Okay. And they get a certain degree of extra protection from like defamation type lawsuits. That's what you would sort of need to fear here, because they're doing the way the law sees it is it's a public good for journalists to be able to post public documents, to publicize public documents. And there's Freedom of Information Act, which requires certain documents to be public. They just need someone to go and get it. So like when you file a complaint, there's literally, there's journalists in Pittsburgh who they're like docket watchers. So they watch every complaint that's filed and they want to see if it's newsworthy, and then they'll go and they'll talk about it on the news. And I've even seen them print, certain images of the complaint itself on the news. Now, this is what I said before. You may want to be careful about here's the thing, because when you put it on Facebook, you are publishing that document. And I don't mean that like a newspaper, but in a legal sense. You are now a publisher. So you've published that document. I'd be careful about, specific names in that regard. This is a fairly complex legal question, ma'am, to be honest. So and it could depend very closely on what Colorado law is, even though there is federal constitutional law that controls in this area. But you can, again, that's a public document. So you can likely republicize it in some way or fashion, but you might want to talk to a local attorney to see if you have to redact any of the names. And here's the thing is, you may not need the names in there to prove your point, because people might just be able to figure it out, because they're going to see the institution that was sued. So my answer, my information, again, this is not legal advice, is that I think that you can probably put it on Facebook as is, If you, you know, you can also probably, if anything, you probably would just have to redact the specific names and then you could put it on Facebook. I'd be very surprised if the law is that you can't post it at all, because again, this is a public
Right, it's
document.
my First Amendment right.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. I've been threatened with slander. I've been threatened with all sorts of stuff.
You know who would know
you know
this?
what?
You know who would know this? Hang on. You know who would know this even better than an attorney? Okay. Because look, I went to law school for 3 years and I've been practicing law for almost 6 years. But if I don't have a specific problem, I may not know the answer. Like I could have answered this for you back in law school. Okay.
Right.
But I can't just recall that now because I do mostly criminal defense and personal injury, and I do like employment litigation. So I don't know these answers off the top of my head. A journalist could probably answer this question for you. So
Okay.
what you may want to do if you're really concerned, and did the newspapers, did your local?
Oh, I have been. This has been going since after the election. All of a sudden, we started to get calls from other deputies saying, "This is unreal. This is not right."
Well, did the local newspaper, let me ask you, did the local newspaper or local news outlets print a story on that intent to sue that was filed?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
They had to because we had went to the county attorney.
Okay.
And requested the records.
So why don't you just repost their story? Did you feel that they didn't do a good enough job?
But he wrote the next day, the same journalist who happens to be good friends with the sheriff wrote that they were unfounded.
Oh, so this
and rumors.
So okay, I get it. I get it.
So it's a very quick town.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, here's a thing, but I mean, here's a thing too that you would want to be careful of is when you make a Facebook post, be careful what text you put in with it. I'd be very, because then that's just you putting your words out there, and that would put you at more risk rather than just reprinting the document. You might want to print go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't put anything out there that I can't back up with one of my sources or myself or my husband who's heard the same, who's been told the same thing or whatever.
If I were you, I would find a journalist, maybe someone in Colorado, but not in your local area, and see if you can find some of their emails and email them this question. They will probably give you a better answer. I'm not even joking, than 99% of attorneys out there. Now, if I sat down for 2 or 3 hours and I got on my legal research websites, I could get you an answer. But it's hard for me to give you, and I'm not a Colorado attorney, so I can't even give you an answer legally. I can't even give you legal advice on it. So your option,
I'm just trying to gain national attention on this. It needs national attention. There's nobody policing the police out in the rural areas.
I gotcha.
And that's a problem. And that's pretty sad coming from the wife of a law enforcement officer.
I understand, ma'am. I understand. I don't.
Very corrupt things going on, and I think it needs to gain national attention. I think a lot of people need to take interest into what's going on in their city council, in their county, with their sheriff, with their judicial system, with their, the county attorney and the county commissioners. It's unreal.
Well, what we have around here, and it sounds like you've already looked, is some of the. So I'm in Pittsburgh, which is a medium size to large size city. It's definitely not a rural county that Pittsburgh is in. Medium, small, I don't know. Like Allegheny County has 1.2 million people. Okay, and Pittsburgh's the city in the middle. But our surrounding counties are, rural counties. There are people, and it sounds like you're kind of in this mold or attempting to be, or at least on this issue, but there have been people in these local counties, and I know them because I'm an attorney. Like, I've dealt with some newsworthy stuff, etc., who are doing sort of the thing that you're talking about. Like, I don't know what to say, independent type journalism. There's a guy in this one county around here where he just goes to like the county council meetings and the city council meetings of towns, and he just records the minutes. Like, he'll record it, and then he might post it on his website and do a little summary of what was said. So he's just shedding light on it, right? That's the concept, is shedding light on it. And so you might want to check in your county or your local area if there's any independent journalists like that. And this guy was like a legitimate journalist who like quit working for the news stations and wanted to do some of his own type stuff. So he started his own website and everything.
Right. Okay.
So you might want to search that in that county. I mean, if you want to say on the show what county it is, I mean, feel free to, where you're from. It's up to you. I don't care.
Oh yeah, it's Logan County, Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in. If you go, I mean, my email is on most of my videos, but it's newsletter@pomettolaw.com.
Okay.
If you can send me an email on there, and maybe I'll communicate with you. And if I come up with some better answers for you, I'd be happy to help. Again, I'm not an attorney I can't practice law in Colorado, but I can certainly assist you and we can talk.
Okay, that would be great.
All right.
I've written many organizations, many different cases. I've been doing this since March because
Gotcha.
That's the 6th phone call that was received to my husband, and we were on vacation, and here's a deputy that his career was trashed because of who he voted for.
Well, here's the good thing, though, is he has a lawyer who's taken up his case and filing a lawsuit. So, and that lawyer, lawyer likely will want to take on those other deputies who were similarly, retaliated against. So hopefully they all get some justice through the court system. And as that case develops, now if they settle the case, it won't be public. But as that case develops,
the county should know about it. The county should know about it.
But that's up to Well, they'll know a lawsuit was filed, but it's up to the parties to decide whether or not a settlement would be public or not. Actually, there may be laws requiring. There are some laws in certain states that require any settlements with public entities, like a sheriff's office, actually do have to go public. That may be the case in Colorado. Yeah, you might want to look into that.
Well, that's crazy because we went back to 2015, and three intent to sues were filed this year alone. And one of them dealt with an elderly couple and their disabled son that they took him out at gunpoint at 4:00 in the morning by SWAT because they didn't pay their mortgage. I mean, come on. This is crazy. What's happening here is crazy. And a lot of the citizens here that they discredit it because, well, the JA did, the Journal Advocate. And so that's kind of put everything to rest in people's minds because, of course, they believe the Journal Advocate. And they're lying. And I called them out twice on my page. And, this is a small town. It gets everywhere. I have tons of views, and I have 77 people, I think, are subscribed to it. So, everybody's watching it, but nobody will subscribe to it. And that could be because they're in fear for, look at the, who's subscribing to it or who's liking it or whatever.
Well, just keep up the fight. Keep up the fight. Listen.
Oh, I will not give up.
Shoot me an email. I hope some of what I said was helpful. I do think that you should maybe try to contact some journalists, outside of the reach of Logan County, see what they have to say. Honestly, they can probably give you some better direction than I can. And shoot me an email. Maybe we can get a dialogue going.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. You're welcome.
Have a good evening.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I missed the call. Been going for about an hour, but I'll take another call or two if anybody wants to call in. Otherwise, I'm gonna scroll through to see if we got any commercials. Okay, let's see, I get a call. Well, let me know if I don't know if that's a call because. What is common law today versus what it was in 1800? How has the common law evolved in the United States? If you're going to call and you're on the chat, let me know ahead of time. That was a local call, and I don't normally get those. So I wasn't sure if that was one of my clients or someone for the show. So let's see here. If you tell me on the chat who you are, I'll answer. Okay. Wide awake and angry. I'm not too far away from you, Joe. Marfugel sent me. Okay, what's your question? Wide awake. Oh, okay. Call again. Mass 1, you can call.
Ask you to let us know that you're not a voicemail system, so you need to press 1 to take this call.
Okay. Hello, this is Attorney Joe Pometto.
Hey Joe, it's Mass 1. What's up?
What's up? How you doing?
Hey man, I live in Southside, and I was born and raised here in Pittsburgh too. I grew up in Southside, but I have an aunt that lives in Clairton, and this has been on Channel 11 News twice. You can look this up.
Okay.
Clairton.
Yeah.
Since 2012, their sewage bill, if you don't use a drop of water, there's a $50 flat rate fee. It used to be $15. People are leaving here in droves. They don't know, like, their water's getting shut off left and right. And my aunt, I don't know, the only thing I could tell her was get everybody to go to city council and everybody stop paying their sewage bill, because her sewage bill, everybody, it's a flat rate of $50, even if you don't use a drop of water. And this has made Channel 11 News twice. And so what do you suggest they do? Because they're getting $100 sewage bills, and then they still have a water bill of $50, $60.
Let me see. Let me look this up. And
Okay.
if you said that, might just give me a better understanding if I can read. Clairton Group brings spotlight to rising sewage water rates. 1 water meter for 425 homes plus 3 bankruptcies. Does that sound right? I'm trying to read these articles.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's see. Okay. 1 water meter for a world of problems in Clairton community. Water still flows from faucets at Century Townhomes, but an ongoing legal battle in bankruptcy court over hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid water bills could shape the site's future. When Pennsylvania American Water shut off the taps for about 6 hours, it was the latest twist in a years-long utility saga for the properties. Now, you said this was a relative of yours?
My aunt.
Your aunt.
Yeah,
Is she
my aunt.
is she in that Century Townhomes, or was Clairton? Was this like a problem throughout?
This is a problem in Clairton. I think it affects just Clairton. I think that just
Okay.
Clairton. This happened in 2012.
At a hearing in federal banker, attorneys for the water utility and Century Town Homes agreed to continue working toward a long-term resolution, finding a way to provide individual water meters. The Homeowners Association owes Pennsylvania American Water $350,000. Much of that debt accumulated under a previous owner, Century Arms Townhomes LLC, which owned 100. Okay, Clairton residents seeing their sewage bill.
Try Googling Clairton, PA sewage rates.
I think I found one.
10-11 news. People protesting. There's a picture of them protesting.
The new increased bills are out of reach for many senior. The Clairton Municipal Authority, they're now sending about 100 shutoff notices every month. People are being forced to move because of the increasing cost, but officials say they have no choice. So why? Clairton is under orders to stop dumping raw sewage into the Mon River. The authority needs to repair its sewer lines and build a new treatment plant or be fined by the state and federal governments. Officials say they're having trouble paying for the improvements because they aren't getting money to help. The idea isn't unheard of. It's called an unfunded mandate. In other words, a project that must be done but without any additional monetary help that leaves communities to make up the gap in funding. Ultimately, the cost gets passed to the consumer. People are using buckets. Yeah, to go. They're not taking their medicine. They're not going. They'd rather. Cooley is on a mission to raise awareness. She says she won't give up until the government hears her plea. Some people are taking drastic measures to try to cut their sewer bills. So I'm going to give, this is what it looks like is happening to me. Honestly, man, I don't know if there's anything that can be done from a legal perspective. And the reason why is because like while public utilities like electricity and water are regulated to a certain degree, they are for the most part sort of they're provided by the free market for the most part. Okay, so like Pennsylvania American Water, for example, like they're not a government entity. Okay, the city of Pittsburgh actually has a water authority. If you live in the city, I believe you buy your water from the water authority. But most of the
Pittsburgh Sewer Water Authority.
But like I have Pennsylvania American Water. Where I live, I'm in the South Hills of Pittsburgh. I have Pennsylvania American Water. Okay, so
that's what she has, Pennsylvania American Water.
So it's a private company, and what's happening is that the government, Clairton is under orders to stop dumping raw sewage into the Mon River. So what was happening, I think, before was the Clairton Water and Sewage Authority, whoever, does the sewage in Clairton, they were dumping the sewage in the Mon River, right? And that's what it says here. So why the Clairton is under, and look, sewage got to go somewhere. Okay. It's going, it's like, I don't know much about this, but it's got to go somewhere. But
I see what you're saying.
But it's so.
Go ahead.
So the government, somebody, maybe the state of Pennsylvania or a federal mandate came down and said Clairton can no longer dump the sewage in the Mon River. So it sounds to me like Clairton has to dump that sewage somewhere else now. I don't know where, but that costs more money, and they're passing those costs on to the residents. That's what's happening.
Yep. And Clairton is a very poor city.
I know.
You probably know. And most of it is Section 8 housing. But, I mean, the older people that live here, like my aunt, she's in her 70s. So, like, they've been living here all her life. Like, people still are living here. And they're living on Social Security now. And they can't afford it. I don't know what. I told her, get as many people as you know, and just everybody together stop paying their sewage bill, and that would have to force something to happen.
I mean, already looks like they're going to be hurting. I mean, if people are moving away, Clairton officials stepping in to combat 400% increase in sewage rates. If people are moving away, that's only going to hurt them more and more because they're going to lose taxpayer dollars, etc. City, we're busy trying. It says here, Clairton officials are busy trying to find ways to make it easier for residents to pay their sewage bills. A more than 400% increase in sewage rates went into place 5 years ago. Here it is, due to a mandate from the federal government to expand the sewage plant.
Vitalent and
Whoops.
teamed up for the 11 Cares Save a Life blood drive. Thank you.
Stop. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you want to get copyrighted either.
So, it sounds to me like a federal law came down about 5 years ago that required Clairton to probably dump their sewage in different areas or deal with it in different ways, and that's driven up costs. The city is in phase 2 of a $40 million expansion project to its sewage plant, but they're hoping to find a company that can come in, take over the plant, and essentially handle that project.
I wonder what 8 years times $50 minimum, and there's 30,000 people that live here.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I wonder if that. I'd love to know what the millions is, but thanks for taking my call.
Well, listen. Shoot me an email, Maz. Maybe again, like I was saying to that last caller, maybe we can have a correspondence on this. Those records may or may not be public. You can always do, if you're that concerned, you want to take some action, you can always do some Freedom of Information Act filings and try to see where the money's going. I don't know. Is somebody skimming off the top of it? You never know.
That's what a lot of people think, and her neighbors think that too. So I think I will do that and investigate into something. Those people that take to look into that stuff, you know what happens to them sometimes. But
absolutely, man. And
that's a really good idea.
And in a town like Clairton too, I mean, who knows? It could be corrupt and dangerous. I honestly don't know. But filing again. The Freedom of Information Act. Maybe you can look into it, protest, but send me an email.
Okay, I will.
I might be interested because I'm close by into getting more into this issue.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right. I'll take one more call. Can I sue our government for putting illegals before? I don't know about that. Hi, this is Attorney Joe Pometto. You're on Joe Pometto Law Show.
Sweet. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, so I mentioned in the chat that got a court case at the end of August. Just looking for some advice. It's a misdemeanor for public nudity.
Okay. A misdemeanor?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an attorney currently?
No. So I'm waiting to hear back if I'm qualified to get a public defender.
Okay. Do you want to talk about what happened or what your recollection of what happened was?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I'll
okay. What happened?
So, I was at a concert and I took a bunch of drugs, edibles, and some mushrooms.
Uh-huh.
And I just thought it would be a good idea to take my clothes off and go storm the stage.
All right.
Yeah, so I recommend it to anybody.
I gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so they escorted me off. They're like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Okay.
And rounded me up, and I'm just like, I can't even really remember what the heck was going on at that point. I was gone.
Right.
Eventually they put me in a restraint suit. They cuffed me, and I thought I was gonna die. I thought they were gonna take me somewhere, some
right
government lab or something.
I gotcha.
That's how far out I was.
I gotcha.
So they take me to the hospital. I get an IV, and instantly I start feeling better. I can actually recall what the heck just happened. And the cops, they're just like, "Well, what did you do?" And so they kind of took a statement, and I was still on these drugs. I'm like, "Well, I took mushrooms, so I admit that I I took drugs,
Mm-hmm.
but they only wrote it up for public nudity. And yeah, so I don't know if I can plead like not guilty on this, or what are my options, I guess.
Yeah. So, again, I think I can give you some good information on this. You want to talk to an attorney in your state, because I'm a Pennsylvania attorney, but I have, I've helped a lot of people with indecent exposure, public nudity type crimes in PA. Usually they're charged. So, where are you at? Utah? Idaho?
I'm in Idaho.
Idaho.
Yeah.
So usually they're
But I'm not
charged. Okay. I gotcha. You have felonies, misdemeanors, and then the lowest levels in Pennsylvania are called summary offenses. That's like a disorderly conduct. Most of the time, the police charge people with this type of thing. They give them a summary offense. Here's what I think happened with you is you talked about the drug use and this other stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So they said, well, we don't want to really like bind this guy up with other types of charges. Did you have anything on you? Any substances?
No, I didn't.
No. Well, they probably couldn't have charged you with that anyway, to be honest. But they, again, like concerts, they're sensitive about this stuff. They charged it as a misdemeanor. Okay. I think that's a little bit extreme. Now, what you want to do, you want to plead not guilty, okay, until you get an attorney and you can make a deal. Do you have any prior offenses?
I had another misdemeanor for like frequenting.
Okay. So
yeah,
in Pennsylvania, and likely in most states, for first-time offenders, you can sometimes get a special program where if you don't get in trouble for 12 months, the charge gets expunged and you just pay some fines and costs. That's called ARD in Pennsylvania. It's called accelerated rehabilitative disposition. It's called like a court alternative. So when you get an attorney, the first thing you want to do is you want to talk to your lawyer about that. Be like, are there any alternative to conviction type programs that I can enter? All right. We call it ARD, but use the word alternative. Be like, is there something I can do, an alternative court diversion program that will allow me to get this expunged if I don't get in trouble and pay a bunch of fines? That's an option in Pennsylvania, usually only for first-time offenders, but sometimes you can get it a second or third time depending on your crime. This is not that big of a deal, so might be possible. Again, I don't know the laws in your area. So that's the first thing that you want to think about. Number two, plead not guilty. So if you got to go for an arraignment or see the judge at a hearing, plead not guilty until you get an attorney. You're not going to plead guilty until you have a deal in place and you know what's going to happen.
Otherwise, they can just slap the highest thing on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's happened. And it's happened. They'll, if you just go in and you plead guilty, and they might just take it, and they can hit you with a penalty. Here's what I tell people about lawyers is I'm not always going to be able to beat a case. Okay. But I'm going to create options for you, and I can explain to my clients what the options are. And then the client has a host of choices, and it gives you more power and control over what's going to happen to you. Even if your lawyer can't beat the case. It sounds here, man, like you may not have a very good case at trial. Again, I don't know everything, but if these police officers or security officials saw this happen or they have it on video, you probably have no reasonable defense. Intoxication and drugs, being so out of your mind you don't know what you're doing is not a defense in the law. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to prosecute a whole bunch of serious crimes. There's case law on that, goes back centuries. So you can't say, well, I didn't know what I was doing. That doesn't matter. Did you do it or not? So that could come into play on the sentencing phase, actually, but not when it comes to guilt or innocence. So Number one, look for a court diversion program. Ask them if there's a court diversion that can result in an expungement. Number two, don't plead guilty to anything until you have an attorney, until you have a deal on the table. Number three, another thing that you can do, especially in a situation like this, is this is up to you if you want to float this option, okay, is what, like, I had a guy one time, he was, had a client who was like addicted to opiates. Okay. And the prosecutor was like, look, if your client does 3 months of outpatient rehab, I'll drop these down to disorderly conducts, but I want a letter. I want to see his regular attendance, blah, blah, blah. And this client actually wouldn't do it, but I've had other clients who did it. Okay. And they would complete that rehab program, and then they'd get it dropped down to a disorderly conduct. That's an option. It doesn't sound to me like that's something like an issue here. Like, you sound, we're not saying your name here, but more like a casual drug user or whatever. Like, you were at a concert. So, like, I've done this with my clients before too, if it's someone like you, because you got to understand the concerns of the courts and the police. They don't want repeat offenders. That's honestly, that's their primary concern. That's why people go to jail for life, because they've just said, look, you can't be trusted to not get in trouble again. So we have to lock you up. Right. You have to go to jail. And so one of their concerns is, if you can do something that makes them believe that this won't happen again, it can help. So that's why those rehab options exist. Sometimes it could be as easy as, your attorney might, and again, every county is different, so it may not be an option, but these are things you can talk to your attorney about, is say, what if I do community service and I go to 10, AA meetings because I tend to drink too much? They might make that deal. I've made deals like that. Therapy, like I've had district attorneys drop cases down when I've gotten letters from therapists when they said, oh, I've treated with so-and-so for 6 months. They've been coming to me because, they have a little bit of drinking problem and suffer from depression and anxiety. I have them on antidepressants now. Their behavior's been good. They've come to every meeting in the last 6 months. Boom, they might drop the case from a misdemeanor down to a summary offense or an outright dismissal. So that's another option, is some sort of treatment or community service. And then what you do is you let that charge hang. So the lawyer be like, this is what I do. I go in, I say, if we cut that deal, then we postpone the court date for 6 months. We come back in 6 months. You have the letter, the proof that you did the community service and the treatment. Then once the DA sees that, they'll say, the prosecutor, sorry, we call them district attorneys here. Once the prosecutor sees that, they'll say, okay, we'll drop it. You get a disorderly conduct. You pay a $200 fine. If we ever see you again, we're not making you another deal. Okay. Now, all of that aside, your worst case scenario is likely probation. All right. If you're found guilty of this, even though it's a misdemeanor. But here's the thing. If they put you on probation, they're going to drug test you. They're going to do a drug and alcohol evaluation, and they may recommend some of the things that I just said to you anyway. So would you?
I can get it beforehand.
Right. Right. And some of my clients resist that, but I say to them, I'm saying, look, wouldn't you rather do it before? Okay. And then you don't have this on your record. And then you're not under the thumb of a probation officer who can violate you for the tiniest thing. And so it's almost always better to float some of the ideas that I had in order to get the case dismissed or dropped, rather than just pleading guilty and going on probation. Because then,
another option.
Right. Like, you don't want to be on probation, because the thing with probation, you can get thrown in jail for just, anything. I mean, people piss hot because they say, I don't know what's true or false, but, I was in a room, all my friends were smoking weed. And then, I've heard it all. So.
Right. Oh, I'm sure. Well, here's another question.
Yeah.
So, I about how much of a time range? I know it just depends on like the judge and everything, but I mean, am I looking at 6 months, or before I can get everything settled?
Well, before you can get it settled, or what your sentence would be if you got probation? You want to know?
I guess yeah, just my sentence. Yeah.
Well, have you had any court dates yet? Do you have a court date scheduled?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Is it your first court date?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, this is very county jurisdiction specific.
Okay.
So for example, I live in Pittsburgh, and there's more crime, so cases take a little bit longer, even though it's a big, fairly efficient. I don't know if I'd say efficient, but it's a big mess. Okay, cases. So there's just tons of cases, so they take longer. Some of the smaller counties, once I'm on the case as a lawyer, I can move some of those cases along very quickly. It's shocking how quick it can be done. I'm talking, so we go to the first hearing, and then if we make a deal, it's all done at the next hearing. I've settled cases within a couple of months, like 3 months. But your general life, because it's a misdemeanor, you're probably talking anywhere from 3 to 9 months. Okay, but it depends. Again, it's so case specific, sir. It's hard for me to tell you because you might be able to cut a deal like I talked about at the first hearing, then the case pens, and you have 6 months to take care of your shit. Then let's say you don't take care of your shit. Then the case goes back on the track. I mean, some cases go on for years. I'm sure you've seen that in the media, et cetera.
Yeah.
But even lower profile cases can end up taking a long time. Yours should go quickly, okay, because there's just not a lot here. It's pretty matter of fact. They're going to have some witnesses. You gave a statement that frankly they can use against you. Now, your state of mind could affect the admissibility of that statement. That's something you're going to want to talk about. Yeah. When did the cops, did they Mirandize you? I mean, that is a good question. Did they read you your rights? Do you recall that? So
no, I didn't.
That, yeah, I mean, that could affect the analysis. Now, the other important thing with the Miranda laws are that that's a federal standard. Your state laws may be stricter. Well, they can't be looser, but they may be stricter. But that's a conversation to have with your attorney. Like, your attorney is going to want to look at the statement that was made, blah, blah, blah. The statement may not matter.
They could have. I mean, I was so out of it. They
Right.
could have read me my rights. But
I've had clients who have come to me and been like, they didn't Mirandize me. And then I watched the interrogation video and they Mirandized them like 3 times. And I'm like, dude, this is like, I watched the video with them. I'm like, bro, they're Mirandizing you right now. Oh, okay. So you really got to have an attorney. Like, a lot of times the document that you'll sign will have some form of Miranda language, and you're signing away all your rights. You're signing away all your rights. Here's the thing. I mean, I would never look. People call me and they're like, the cops call me. They want to talk to me. I'm like, look, dude, don't tell them shit. Okay. You don't want to, you never want to talk to them unless you've spoken to your attorney first. Now, that could land you in jail, but it's better to go in jail for a couple days and maybe get bailed out than it is to have your life ruined or face a very stiff prison sentence. Regardless, I don't want to get into that with you because you're already past that.
That's a lot of good information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're already past that point. But Christ, I can't even remember what I was going to say now. But your attorney, this is what I was going to say. The fact that you gave a statement, okay, and again, that, like, I'll have clients. I mean, you get into all sorts of crazy shit in my job, as you can imagine. Clients, but I'll, like, when a client's pleading guilty, they're basically saying that they did it. When a client has given a statement like they have you have in your situation, that's something you can use. Your attorney can actually use to help you now. Okay, you're already past that point. You already gave the statement, so Now you want to spin it. So what your lawyer can do, and every situation is different, but he can go to the DA and say, look, my guy, he got crazy. He was partying. He was at the concert, blah, 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 whatever, took some shrooms, was drinking, shit happens. Okay. With the cops, took him down, brought him in a back room. He cooperated. That's the word to use. That's the magic word, at least in the courts around here. He cooperated with the police. He gave a statement that can actually help you get a deal with the prosecutor. So your attorney can say, look, my guy, once they had him, he didn't give him any shit. There's nothing the police hate more than resisting arrest because it's dangerous to them. So they prosecute those very harshly. And the more shit that someone gives them, the harder they're going to go after them once the case gets into court. So you cooperated. That's a magic word that you and your attorney can now use with the district attorney and the judge. So, if the DA is not willing to cut you a deal, maybe the judge will give you a deal. Okay. But use that with the DA or ask your attorney about it. Be like, look, man, I gave a statement. I cooperated. Can you make sure that you bring that up to the prosecutor so that they understand here that like I wasn't trying to give the cops a hard time. I just had a moment of unclarity where I got wild. I was at a concert, and that might
like I'm out here trying to hurt people
right
every day,
right. And it's such a funny job because it can depend on the prosecutor. Like I get some prosecutors who are like they get pissed about certain crimes, right? But other crimes, they're willing to make deals. They're willing to help. I know a lot of district attorneys who would hear the story that you just told me and we'd both start laughing, and we go and have a beer afterwards and be like, talk about, be like, oh, that guy, he just got crazy. Who hasn't? Then we'd tell our own stories about concerts, and that DA's like, he's been there, right? Like that DA has been there and he's going to cut you a deal. But then you get some DAs, man, who maybe never had a beer in their life and, they're wholly, whatever. I mean, that's fine.
I'm hoping that's what doesn't happen.
Right.
Idaho, there's a lot of Mormons there. So
right.
I don't know. Just kind of like, another question. If I am granted a public defender, I mean, that's just me getting an attorney, right?
Yeah. A lot of people don't. It was funny. I never actually worked for the public defenders. Well, I interned for a public defender for one summer, and I interned with another organization. Basically, I interned with a public defender for a year and a half, public defenders offices. And it was funny because clients would come up to me and be like, are you a real attorney? Like they say that to public defenders all the time. And I get it because their word attorney is not in their name. Like they're known as public defenders. So people don't even think that. Right. People. So I understand, like I wouldn't, if I didn't gone to law school, I would have never known the difference. But yeah, they're attorneys. They just work for the local public defender's office, which is, funded by the state or the county, because the government you have a constitutional right to a lawyer if you fall below a certain income level. It wasn't always the case. There's a famous case, Gideon, back in like the 1940s or maybe the 50s. And the Supreme Court basically sent down the law and said, look, anybody below a certain income level, the government has to provide them with an attorney. So if you meet those income thresholds, you will be assigned an attorney. Here's the thing. Your case, the problem with public defenders is not that they're not good attorneys and not that they don't care about cases. They are. Many of them are very good attorneys. And the reason they do that job is because they're not out in it for the money. They're in it because they believe in the work. So it's a very honorable job in my opinion. Now, here's the problem is those attorneys are so overloaded. They can't give personal attention to each case. So that's like, I'm a private attorney. If someone hires me, they're going to come into my office. We're going to sit down. We're going to talk for at least a half hour, like you and I are doing now. I'd have the same conversation, but we're going to talk for half an hour. You're going to call my office and you can get me on the phone. We're going to text. We're going to email. You're going to meet with me maybe several times if it's a very serious case. You're not going to get that type of personal attention with the public defender's office. Okay, that's the problem. But you will have a lawyer at every one of your hearings, and at the hearing itself is going to maybe your only opportunity to truly sit down and talk with your attorney. Here's what I suggest, because I worked for the public defender's office. When you get a public defender, they may not meet you before your first hearing date. At the first hearing date, you should go up to your public defender and say to him exactly like this. Say, look, I'm very concerned with my case. I don't know what you do for a living, but you say this may affect my job. It could affect the situation with my family. Can we sit down and talk for about 10 minutes whenever when you get some free time to talk about my case? And I guarantee if you tell them like that, they will find time while they're there in court to give you 10 minutes. Maybe not all of them. They might be so overwhelmed that they can't, but they probably will. And then you can pull them aside in a side room in the courthouse or something, and they can sit down with you with your complaint, talk about how they work these cases out, in your jurisdiction.
Oh, so I won't even really have any correspondence before the court date, what you're saying.
I don't. Here's what I'll tell you. In really large public defender's offices, it's possible that you will not. Are you in Salt Lake City or like a smaller county? Or I'm sorry, you're in Idaho. You're in Idaho.
Boise, Idaho.
Boise. So that's like the biggest city in Idaho, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, they may have time to meet with you beforehand. Request a meeting. I honestly don't know. I'm just telling you.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to
Sure.
throw everything out there.
Sure.
While I got you, because you're pretty knowledgeable and I think
Yeah.
you've helped a lot so far.
Yeah. I just know in Pittsburgh, so the public defenders do not have time before the initial hearing, which is called a preliminary hearing here, unless you're like a homicide, okay, or a real serious case, then they have certain public defenders who will have the time. But most stuff like what you're dealing with, a misdemeanor, okay, just because I've seen it, the public defender, they're dealing with about 10 to 30 cases just like yours every day, right? Monday through Friday. So they may get a chance, the night before your case, open up your file and read through it. And then that morning, they have 20 cases that they're dealing with, okay? And they just, even if they got assigned your case 2 months ago, they're not going to meet with you beforehand, okay? If you really get on their ass, they may meet with you, okay? So what happens, a lot of people get assigned the public defender and they're waiting for the public defender to call them. It ain't going to happen. Not on a minor case like yours. But every smaller offices, like in the rural counties in Pennsylvania, they may meet with their clients beforehand because they have the time to do it. Boise, it's probably slower than Pittsburgh. Okay. So you might have a chance to get, to talk, to meet with them. Request a meeting. Ask whenever you fill out the paperwork. Did you already fill out the paperwork?
Yeah, so I went into the county clerk.
Okay. And have they got back to you yet about whether you were?
No, I'm expecting something in the mail, but we'll see. They have to send it up to the judge and then I guess approve it, all that.
When's your court date? When's your first court date?
It's August 30th.
Okay, you got some time. So what I would say is just is stay on top of it. When you get that letter, call somebody. Call the public defender. Like what you may get in the mail is like a court order signed by the judge saying your request for a public defender has been granted. You've met the income standards that are required in the state of Idaho. Blah blah blah. So it may have instructions on what to do next. It may not. If it doesn't, pick up the phone and just call the county public defender's office. Tell them who you are, tell them you got an order, and just tell them, be like, I want to know who my public defender is, and I want to have, I would like to request a meeting before my first hearing date.
All right.
If you're still not able to get a meeting, then do what I said at the first hearing date. Be like, ask the PD if they'll give you 10 minutes on the side.
Okay.
That's why PDs get such a bad rep, is because a lot of times the person charged with the crime is walking into the courtroom, and they never spoke to their attorney. So they're like, you know, are these guys even lawyers? You know, I get it. Like, I get it. So that's how I would handle it. You just got to stay on their ass. If you do, because I know, again, like some clients who are really persistent, then the public defender has to give them more time. And most of the clients, most of them aren't going to do what I told you to do. If everybody was doing it, they'd have to say no. But I think you'd have a pretty good shot at getting a meeting, especially in Boise.
Cool, man. Hey, is this going online?
It's live right now. It's all online.
Okay, cool. All right, good. I just want to go back to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saved the videos and they'll be on my channel.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
You bet. You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
See you, man.
Bye-bye. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I would say, drop me a like, drop me a comment, share these videos. I've also set up a Patreon. You do not have to, this content will always remain free. Okay, I like doing this, and I like communicating with everybody. The truth is that it will always remain free. So don't feel compelled to do anything. If you would like to donate, I have set up a Patreon, and I also have a PayPal. You can make a one-time donation and or a Patreon donation. If I can make more money off of these videos, then I can dedicate more time to it. I can dedicate more time to taking more calls, helping everybody with more individual issues. So that's why I set up a Patreon and a PayPal. I have multiple businesses, so it's obviously I'm going to have to put my time where the money is because I need to make a living. If this becomes something that is more viable for me, I can put more time into it. So there will be absolutely. I'm going to keep you're going to continue with 1A auditor community. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing those videos. But I like doing this stuff too, where I can help people. So small donations to me help. I'm not some big time attorney who settled $1 million cases. I'm out there hustling every day, helping people for a couple $100 here and there. Someday when I have that much money, and that'll be great. And again, everything will remain free. But if you like what I do, you want to support my show, you can go to Patreon and or PayPal. On Patreon, I'm going to start putting up exclusive content that you will have access to. And I'm also going to do, so, I'm not going to be able to take everyone's calls every time, but if you want to have one-on-one time with me, if you become a patron on Patreon, that will be guaranteed. We can have discussions. I'll set up scheduled discussions. We can communicate more via email, etc. So it's going to give you more exclusive contact with me and more exclusive content. But again, this will always remain free, and you don't have to give a single penny if you don't want to. And you can support my show by dropping me a like, sharing my videos, telling family and friends about it, telling people to subscribe, and leaving me a comment, or just tuning in and coming on these chats. So I appreciate everybody who's stuck around to the end. If you came late, if you came early, I'm having my favorite drink, a Diet Coke. One of these nights, we will drink some beer together. Also in the comments, you can drop me suggestions for content, or if you'd like to see me interview people. I was thinking of having some police officers on, firemen, other criminal defense attorneys, and former prosecutors. I don't know if you guys would think that would be interesting. Let me know if you do. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Keep tuning in, and have a great night.